You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, our Education Matters segment is powered by School Choice is the Black Choice. All right, folks, black men make up only 2% of the nation's teaching force, but their presence in the classroom is shown to improve outcomes for students, especially young black boys. A study by the Institute of Labor Economics found that low-income black students who have a black teacher, man or woman, for at least 1 year in elementary school are less likely to drop out of high school and more likely to consider college. Still, only 7% of teachers nationwide are black. Joining us right now is Terrence Martin. He is Terrence Martin, Senior Executive Vice President of the Detroit Federation of Teachers. Terrence, the thing here is interesting when we talk about this whole issue. I've had Sean Hartnett. He has a charter school here in Washington, D.C., and he specifically did this school for black boys. And what he said he was working in traditional public schools. He said, you know what? We got a laser-like focus. He said it was amazing because he controlled who he hired. He said he literally saw the transformation of these black boys who were excited about science, excited about math. And even in Senator Kamala Harris at the debate at Texas Southern University, she talked about what it means when a black child has a black teacher, but especially a black male teacher. And so what's really being done to get more black men in the profession, and what more needs to be done?
Well, it's not enough done at the present moment. And I think that one of the things that we have to certainly consider is that the importance of having a black male teacher extends beyond what you see in the classroom. It actually goes into the home as well. When I taught second and fifth grade here in the city of Detroit, I was probably the most consistent black male figure in many of my students' lives. I came to work every day. They can count on me. They knew what to expect. There were rules in place that I expected children to follow, and they followed it. And as you mentioned before, when you talk about the impact of black male teachers to black boys, it really gives them a sense of confidence, the same sort of confidence that you get from your father, knowing that you can do it. I'm here to catch you if you fail, but I'm also going to give you the tools to be successful in this life. And that's certainly something that's missing in our schools.
Interesting. As I sit here and I think about elementary school, middle school, high school, I certainly can name a large number of black female teachers. But when you start talking about black male teachers, I mean, absolutely. I had Mr. Woods at elementary school, a brother. I had a Mr. Brewer in middle school, who was a brother. There were a number of brothers who were in high school, including Mr. Carey, a fellow Alpha brother of mine, Coach Mumphrey, who was my government teacher, another Alpha brother of mine, and so many others. And you're absolutely right. It's a different reaction when you are a black boy in school, when you choose to act a fool, and then you have a black male teacher who checks you as opposed to a black female teacher or a white male teacher or a white female teacher.
Yeah, and it's certainly a different connotation. And one of the reasons why I became a teacher is because of the great male teachers that I had at a very young age. I think I had my first black male teacher in sixth grade. And he was just outstanding. And just the way that he was able to relate to us in the classroom was just astounding. He looked like me. He came from the same neighborhood that I came from. As a matter of fact, he lived several blocks over from where I lived. And so a totally different reaction. It was almost as if someone from your neighborhood that you respected, that you looked up to, was now going to teach you. One of the other things that we have to certainly consider when we talk about black male teachers, typically you see them in phys ed or as administrators in some form of fashion. But it's increasingly important that we make sure that we see our black male teachers in academic subjects, such as social studies, math, and the sciences, because that is what will spark a young black boy to want to explore those particular subjects even further.
So we know the problem, we know the value. How do we fix it? Who's doing it? What are the programs? What is the issue? Is it an issue of money? Is it an issue of recruitment? Is it an issue that districts should be partnering with HBCUs? How do we fix this problem?
Yeah, I don't think that there's any silver bullet in this. I mean, and when we talk about this issue of not having enough black males in schools, we got to look at the teaching profession as a whole. When you talk about teaching and you talk about nursing, those were traditionally subjects that were classifications, job classifications that were dominated by women.
Yeah, but remember, we also got to explain why. Because women were not allowed to work in the traditional workforce. When Title IX was passed in 1972, which opened professional schools up for women, where they could become doctors, lawyers, dentists, they were like, now it can be more than a teacher.
Right, and we still fight for equality, for equal pay in those professions. And so, when you talk about a black man who may be the head of his household, it's important that they make enough money to take care of their family. And because there's a disproportionate in pay in the profession of teaching and professions of nursing, we still struggle with that. And a lot of black men don't choose education to go into because they know that it's not going to be fruitful for them financially. However, I
if it's
will offer
money,
this.
if it's money, then how do we change the structure? Because I can tell you, my brother, when he chose to teach at a culinary program in Houston, they came to him. He led them to a state championship, a national championship, and then they said, "Hey, we want you to run the program." Oh, well, because of seniority, we can't pay you more. And he said, "Wait a minute, why in the hell am I going to go from being the teacher to the person running the program, and I'm not going to get paid more money to do it?" He said, "In the real world, if you promote somebody, you get more money." So they ended up actually promoting a white female who didn't know jack about culinary, but she had more seniority than he did. So how do we then change? And then what happened? He eventually left. So here they had a black male teacher who's an executive chef who leads them to a state and national championship in culinary arts. But because of how the pay structure is, it was based upon seniority and not based upon talent and skill set, he booked.
And that happens all over this country, and particularly in urban settings. But I think what we have to do is make sure that school districts actually target black males to come in to teach, be it going to HBCUs and actually recruiting teachers. But it's also the freedom to teach and the freedom to explore, the freedom to go about it in a way that you can reach children. Many of us are hamstrung by the requirements from states or requirements from school districts that don't allow us to really explore and to teach children in the way that we know will be fruitful for them. Obviously, pay and the pay structures are an issue, and we really have to work to try to get those up to speed to really make sure that we're going after those targeted areas that are of importance to our black children. But at the same time, we have to make sure that when we recruit them, that we give them the support that they need so that they can continue and not want to leave the profession.
But see, on the point you made there, and look, man, I've made it clear to people very simply. That is, I support every means of education: traditional school, public school, charter school, magnet school, online school, home school, technical school. For me, it's just got to work. And what you just described there, again, is the struggle that a lot of people have with traditional school system because that lack of freedom. And I think also and I think, again, one of the things, and I'm telling you, look, my sister's a teacher, my younger sister's a teacher, my middle sister was a teacher's aide, my brother also taught. I'm the only one who didn't go into the classroom because I probably would choke a kid to death because I ain't got that much patience. I'm just letting you know, I ain't got that much. So God bless y'all for having the level of patience to teach. I'm just saying, I appreciate it. But this is the deal that I have said this for years. The teaching profession, they are not going to get an increase unless they confront the financial restrictions. If you are a person who can go into another area and you can make coming out, you can make 60, 65, 70, 75, or whatever, we can throw all kind of different numbers, they have to adjust that because people are not just going to say, I'm going to like the old way, I'll teach 30 years and get my payoff when I get my pension. This generation is simply not doing that.
That's a true statement, and I don't disagree with you that the pay structure has to change. And it's more than just what happens at the local school level; it's also what happens at the state level. Look, these school districts, and particularly those in urban areas such as Detroit, have to be funded in a way that we're able to raise salaries for workers all across our state, all across our school districts. And when you talk about the fact that you were really battling with other industries to really pay people and pay people well and get the quality people that we need, pay is always going to be an issue. Here in Detroit, we've been able to do some things to attract teachers that have been pretty groundbreaking. We were able to raise salaries for beginning teachers. We're able to really move our teachers on the salary schedule who have been here. But obviously, we're going to value the folks who have done the job and have paid their dues, and the folks that have proven to be quality workers. And so certainly we have to make the steps and the strides to take care of the folks who are existing. But you're absolutely right. It's going to be an issue for folks until our school districts, particularly those in urban areas, are funded the way that they should.
All right, Terrence Martin Sr., we really appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right. Mustafa, on this point, first of all, look, I got three brothers here, you as well as Michael. Rena had to go, so I really appreciate her joining us on the show today. Mustafa, again, when you start breaking this thing down, when you start looking at, to me, when people say we got a problem with lack of black male teachers, then you have to zero in on exactly what the problem is. And I'm telling you, my brother went through it. He was like, y'all, I am not about to sit here and give my all and do all these things if you're not going to pay competitive salaries. And that is a fundamental issue that districts, that unions, that politicians, everybody is going to have to deal with, because the marketplace is about you better than them, yo, you get more. And that's going to have to be dealt with, because I'm telling you, I hear from brothers, man, I would love to teach, but I'm not about to teach for no $32,000 or $28,000. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've heard the exact same thing time and time again. I mean, we're blessed that a couple of my line brothers are actually teachers, but they even talked about in the early days of their teaching careers, really not being able to, they were having a hard time just surviving, especially when they lived in certain areas where, if you wasn't making $60,000, $70,000 a year, you were almost living, paycheck to paycheck without a doubt. I mean, it comes down to this. We have to prioritize the things that we find value in. And if education is one of those, then, we got to make sure that the money is coming with that. And the other part, too, is the pipeline. So, for certain skills, we will create this pipeline early on so that folks get all these various skills that they need, so that by the time they get to college, they're well prepared, and then they're actually ready, to move out into the real world. So, in our STEM programs, lots of times the folks who go through STEM are not thinking about being teachers. They're thinking about being scientists or engineers or some of the other things. Sometimes math may be, but they're usually thinking about it at a much higher level, teaching in college or something like that. So we just have to prioritize, especially in our communities. And then if we actually do that, you can get more brothers who actually will say, you know what, I can take care of my family, and I can do more than just taking care of my family. As we were talking about wealth earlier, hopefully we can get to a point where if you are a teacher, you can actually build real wealth beyond the cultural wealth, of course, that comes from being able to do this, but also the financial wealth.
Michael, I've got a lot of brothers a lot of people who are sitting here commenting on Facebook and YouTube about this very issue. And I've had a lot of black people get mad at me, man. I don't know why you supporting charter schools. And because you heard Terrence also say when he talked about having the freedom to teach the way they know how to teach. That's one of the reasons why I support charter schools. The other reason why I support charter schools is this. If I believe that a traditional school system, which is a delivery system, is not the only way to educate a kid, if I believe that that is preventing us from being able to reach them, like I say, what Sean has done here in Washington, D.C., he took the same black boys who were going to the school down the street and who couldn't actually do science and math, and now he has them loving science and math. You got to ask, well, what is it that they're doing differently? And for me, if having the ability to actually control the pay structure, if I think you worth 75 and that person's worth 50,000, that's what happens in the marketplace. It doesn't matter if that person has 5 years and you got 3 years. If you kicking that behind and outperforming, I gotta have the flexibility to pay in that way. That's how you keep good, talented people. The teaching profession has to stop operating in the 1970s when it comes to how they pay people and deal with where we are in the 21st century.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm the product of Detroit Public Schools. I live here in Detroit, McFarland Elementary School, Drew Middle School, Cass Technical High School, and also went on to Wayne State University and graduated from Wayne State University. And my mother was a teacher in Detroit Public Schools as well. I come from a long line of teachers. So there's some advantages with charter schools. All of them. You have good charter schools, bad charter schools, good public schools, bad public schools. We need quality education in all facets. And I'm also an advocate for homeschooling as well for those who want to do it. I speak at the Liberated Minds Black Homeschooling Educational Expo usually each year in Atlanta. Okay, but when we look at African American teachers, I just want to give a quick shout out to 3 African American teachers I had. Mr. James in elementary school, McFarland Elementary School. And even though he wasn't one of my teachers, he had an after school program called the African History Club. So the African History Club helped to lay a foundation for me, who knew I would become a historian years later. Then in Cass Technical High School, you had Mr. Washington, who taught psychology. Mr. Washington introduced me to Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Who knew I was?
Well, that's a huge mistake because you got 2 alphas sitting right here. But go ahead with your little youth group.
So then I would go on to Wayne State University and pledge Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So I've been a Sigma for 30 years, and then also at Drew Middle School, I had a teacher, and his name escapes me right now, but he taught journalism. I took a journalism class. Okay, so who knew I would report on news and have to be a radio talk show host. And then in college, James Robinson. James Robinson taught business ethics in the business school, and then I would go help manage 2 of his companies. After that, we helped employ African Americans, things like this. Had contracts with the city of Detroit, County of Wayne, state of Michigan. So those are having African American teachers is extremely important, and this is also ties to city budgets as well.
Well, so city, state budgets, and also federal spending. About 20 seconds left. Go ahead.
City of Chicago, when they had the teacher strike, and Mayor Lightfoot said, we don't have the money to pay you what you want. But 2005 to 2015, they paid out $512 million to settle 105, 106 police misconduct lawsuits. That's where your money went.
Absolutely.
So when you control the police and policing, that frees up money to help pay teachers and for education.
Absolutely. All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, the folks at Seek.com, black-owned company founded by Mary Spio. They, of course, a virtual reality company. You can check out their content at Seek.com, CEEK.com. You can do so, of course, with these VR headsets. You can look at it, of course, on your regular device or your pad or your computer. But if you want to experience being in the room, you can use this headset right here. All you simply do is just pop in your cell phone in here, pop it on, and then put this headset on, and you can literally experience their content in virtual reality. reality. And so allows for you to do a 360-degree view of the room. But also, folks, they have the 360-degree 4D headphones right here. These are Bluetooth headphones. They have complete surround sound in terms of as you hear the particular music. Gamers love them as well when they're playing their games. And so it's just phenomenal bass in these headphones as well. You can get one or both devices at seek.com using this promo code RMVIP2020, RMVIP2020. So we certainly thank the folks at seek.com for being a partner with us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. All right.